We'll be calling this meeting to order, and I'm going to determine a quorum. Miss Richards. Here. Miss Pocket Ringle. Here. Dr. Curtis.
Here.
Ms. Parker. Here. Mr. Feldbaum.
I am here.
Dr. Garcia.
Here.
And I am here. We have a quorum. Next agenda item is the consent agenda. We have the library board minutes and Board of Finance minutes, declare access withdrawn library materials, personnel changes, and the bill list. Do I have a motion to accept the consent? Yes.
I would love to motion to accept.
Oh.
I'm glad you're in the.
Okay, we have a motion to accept. Do I have a second? Ms. Richards seconds. Lots of enthusiasm here tonight. All right, so I will take the vote. Ms. Richards. Ms. Pocket Ringle.
Aye.
Dr. Curtis. Ms. Barker.
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum.
Aye.
Dr. Garcia.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next is the director's report. Mrs. Murphy.
Thank you. So lots of good news on the construction end. We're moving quickly towards the expected construction completion date of April 1 for LaSalle. And then it'll be furniture, shelving, move back in, all of that. So that's exciting. And then we have the full building commit for Western. So if you drive down Western, you can see there's lots of activity going on down there. We met with Evan Marsh to discuss the pipes. They're here to talk to you about that later. Our renovation at Center, since we put in study rooms and reopened, those study rooms have been booked more than 300 times between the time we reopened and the end of 2025. So I think that's pretty exciting. You saw the little story about our fax services. People are sometimes surprised. They do get used regularly and often. If you missed Science Alive, it was another amazing event with more than 2,600 attendees, 41 exhibitors, 5 stage shows, just a huge effort on the part of all of our staff. So many volunteers, so many community members enjoying it.
Can I say one sentence about Science Alive?
Yes, please.
I went to the show where they had the animals, and that little armadillo, I swore it wasn't a real, it looked like a toy.
Everyone was talking about the armadillo.
I can't believe it was real. I thought it was a wind-up phone
Wind up.
or battery operated.
And then Kate, the chemist, was here in the afternoon and she did blow a little fire for us. So that was pretty cool too. With all the safety protocols in place, FYI, and teaching the kids the safety as well. Venues Arts and Parks recognized us as their outstanding partner of the month, which was very kind of them. We do a lot of work with them. I went to ILF State House Day in Indianapolis, spoke with a number of legislators. SB 8, which is what I emailed you about earlier, did not move out of committee. However, they did include that language in Senate Bill 4, which was on second hearing today, and that is various fiscal matters. It's a long bill covering many things. So I do expect that will pass, which will require binding review of the library budget if we exceed 50% of the growth quotient. So if we're going to grow our budget in a way we typically would, we will have to go to the county council for binding review. So I spoke with Brian Tanner, who's the council's president. It is hopefully largely just bureaucratic steps that we need to take. So that's where that's at. Congratulations to Lynn Stegmiller on her retirement, nearly 19 years. Unusual for us, but all of them at the North Liberty branch. I'm verifying that. Is that correct?
All of them.
All of her years at the North
Oh,
Liberty
I
branch.
thought you said yes. I was
Yeah.
like, all
We
of
usually see people move around quite a bit within the system. She spent all of her time at North Liberty. And then, today we got notice that Bob Friel, our database and cataloging librarian, is retiring. He was first hired by the library as a page in 1970. He, then went off to college and grad school and came back, and he's been back for the last 38 years and 2 months, I think,
Wow.
at St. Joe County Public Library. So best wishes for his retirement.
That's what the bookmark.
That's what it
Okay, we noticed bookmark in our review of the budget.
Oh, of the bill. So we do a
Yeah.
nice engraved bookmark for retirement.
Yeah,
gifts. Yeah.
facts, yes. right.
Yeah.
So. I mean, call them, okay. So it's exciting that we have the 300 study room bookings, with our different, I guess it was center. That has
Correct.
Over 300. And are we seeing that in the other branches where we've put in the study rooms as well? Or is it pretty much?
So our first branch to have study rooms was Western. They did that with some COVID money, and those are fairly regularly used. And now we're adding them as we renovate spaces. We're adding study rooms in, so.
So I noticed that because you have the listing, there's like 30 different entities that use the study rooms. Your main branch in January, at least you listed those out in one of your little.
Well, I think that was,
That's Maine, I assume, right?
those are meeting rooms,
Meeting-
system-wide. Yep.
So study rooms are different. The study rooms are mostly for, that are students that are using them.
They're smaller groups.
Right.
So it's anything from tutoring to telehealth to just quietly studying by yourself.
So are they almost always all, I mean, is this something like as projecting out 5, 10 years that we ought to be thinking perhaps at center adding more study rooms? Or is that?
I think it's too soon to tell. But I do think it's a good indication that we should be adding them as we renovate branches.
Because I'm noticing as I go around the country, I often pop into the library, and it seems like more and more have the study rooms and they're
Right.
almost always 100% occupied.
They're pretty popular. People like a quiet. I think as libraries have become noisier places, having that quiet option is a helpful one.
Anybody else? All right, could I have a motion to accept the executive director's report? Dr. Curtis moved. Do I have a second?
Second,
Ms. Pocket Rengel seconded. Ms. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Pocket Rengel?
aye.
Dr. Curtis?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum?
Aye.
Dr. Garcia?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. All right, next we have the patron engagement report. Ms. Plummer?
So I have a couple pictures of January programs. One was the Culturally Speaking Author event with Brendan Slocum, and then the Huguenot event at Center, which was a cozy, quiet, and relaxing theme. And then on page 2.
Ms. Plummer, could you really yell at us?
Okay.
Side voice.
I'm not good at yelling, but. For page 2, the total gate count is down by 15%, but I wanted to point out that it actually increased by 10% at German and 7% at Western. So I thought that was interesting. The overall total computer minutes is down though by 27%. Page 3, couple things. I wanted to point out that total circulation is down by 4%. But interestingly, Canopy increased by 34%. I think that has to do with some promotion by communication. Then page 4, actually, I'm going to skip ahead to page 5. So there were over 700 meeting room reservations in January. And that is 141% increase since January of last year. And I just listed some of the groups that have met, and this is system-wide.
I have to say, I've been trying to book rooms in the 4 to 6 time. it's impossible. I mean, they're all filled everywhere. You have to really go out.
For 40 and the 60.
Yeah, yeah, so all good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Feldbaum.
So do we have a sense, I seem to recall that the main branch, visitors, I know it's down about 15,000 this month. But I seem to recall that I've noticed sort of a trend there with main branch. Do we have a sense of what's going on now?
I think it's increasing a little bit of branches, but I'm not exactly sure.
Well, this is this January, right? So we were closed for a week. We were partially closed for a week in January.
So that's my,
So
that,
that would have impacted it quite a bit
Sure.
for the elevator repairs. And then I think we had one snow closure
Right.
in January as well. It was
It's
not
also
in the same week.
One of the snowiest winters we've had in a long time, and I think some people who have mobility issues are less likely to come than they would normally.
I think probably the bitter cold too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So bitter cold, it was so low.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was, I know lots of people who didn't do any more than they absolutely had to because of.
there were a lot of school closures this month.
Yep.
but I think you're probably right. I think it probably was those 3 or 4 days, the library, we were closed because of
A week. yeah.
because if you look right system wide, everybody else pretty much with the, the visitors are pretty much held their own, even with the cold, unless people found it easier to get into the branches instead of coming here. I don't know. Interesting.
All right. Other questions on the patron engagement report? We'll move on then to the financial report, Ms. Stansler.
Okay, we are right at the beginning of the year. If there are any specific questions regarding the fund report, or the appropriations report, I can take those, yes.
So,
Which report are you looking at?
well, when I compare, well, I'm actually not looking because I'm looking at the item line item. But when we look through that very, very, very detailed 80-page report of expenditures through the month, we noticed 3 or 4 pages of snow removal. And then, so that was through, that really went up, a lot of those were in February. So I noticed here we've got, this is the expenditures are really through January 31.
Correct.
So snow removal, when it hits, when all those hit, will those come into the grounds and building services fund?
Yes, they go in the ground and building services.
Okay, so
fund.
right now, because really we were only at 8%, almost 9% through January, end of January.
Mhm.
But do you have a sense with all this snow removal, what that's gonna do? I mean, I don't know if we budget per se, but how are you seeing snow removal?
There were a lot of invoices. That I do know. There were a lot of invoices for the snow removal. I'll have to look and see where we are. I might be able to look while we're talking. I may not be able to do that quick, so I may be able to just circle back around with you. Since I'm on BSA and it's in cloud, I can actually kind of look in there and kind of see where we are, and let you know what that percentage looks like.
Because one thing that would be helpful, because I was asking a little bit to our executive director, is we're getting so much detail here. If there's a way, because I couldn't even tell, because in some of these things, I could tell that some of these are like mechanicals. Because if you read the detail and you kind of know what's going on, that must be Western, that must be LaSalle. And then some of the other ones though, well, that's it's $40,000 among all those invoices. But we were talking a little bit, well, that actually isn't renovation. That's actually that we've had some leaks and different things. It would be helpful if there's a way to somehow, with all that detail, if there's a way to somehow give us a snapshot of what we're actually seeing in all those, if there's a way to somehow, almost like what we get here in the appropriation when you kind of, condenses all down so we can see if there's anything that's really out of whack there, because that's what we're really looking for. We don't really care about each item, but the question when we approve those is there something we got to ask a question for because it's not tracking with the budget? We really can't tell that with all those different ones.
Sure.
There's no way to kind of cross-check.
So, right, remember we just got into a new system.
Right.
So we are working on the new system and this report is used by everybody.
Right.
So now we're trying to figure out what BSNA can get us to to get those drilled down. So we're working on it. So we are working on it. But it's gonna, depending on what the report is, it may affect everybody and not just SJCPL. So I have to see if I can get it to aggregate down to that.
I will also say that since you're sort of newer to seeing those details, as you get used to seeing them, you'll get more used to what is on there and whether that's something you're seeing every month or not.
Right.
But just a point of order, those are the consent agenda and this is the,
It is.
but you're trying to figure out how to tie them together.
Well, I guess this is our financial report,
Right,
if you
correct.
will. So we could have gone through it in the consent agenda, but there's nothing, I mean, I'm not objecting to it necessarily, I
Sure.
just don't understand it.
Sure.
So I was just
Yeah,
commenting, wherever it goes in the thing, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, I get what you're saying, we just literally had a conversation about it, we've actually reached out to the other Indiana library bookkeepers, because even though I got a little bit of power, I can't make everybody do what
Well,
I.
I understand we may have,
So it's gonna be, it may be a push and pull. I have to figure out how to get this data, because everything in the new system isn't necessarily, I can't just go in there and just make it roll up. And then how much outside, if I have to do it outside the system, how much outside of the system to make it roll up. So that is your request is already in the works, I just gotta work through it.
okay,
Yeah.
great, awesome.
Any other questions on the financial report? All right, I will take a motion to approve, to accept the patron engagement report and the financial report.
So
Dr. Curtis moved. Ms. Parker seconded, and I'm gonna go backwards this time. Dr. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum,
hi.
Ms. Parker.
Aye.
Dr. Curtis.
Hi.
Ms. Puckett Ringo. Ms. Richards.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Do we have any unfinished business?
Do not.
No unfinished business. All right, new business. We have a lot to go through here, so let's start with the Fox Street leaks, Ms. Murphy.
So we have this property adjacent to Tut and we will not be renovating Tut probably definitely for at least another year. So in the meantime, rather than having it sit empty, I'm recommending that we lease it to United Religious Communities to provide housing for refugees while that organization helps them find permanent housing.
Any questions? Nice work on partnership. Thank you. Mhm. Do I have a motion to accept the lease?
So moved.
Mr. Feldbaum moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Dr. Curtis?
Question.
You have a question? Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Garcia, you have a question?
Oh, sometimes.
I was waving to somebody that was saying bye. I'm at school still, so.
All right, can I count on you for a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Garcia? It's been moved and seconded to approve the Fox Street lease. Dr. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum?
Hi.
Ms. Barker? Aye. Dr. Curtis? Ms. Puckett Ringo?
Aye.
Ms. Richards?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next, the foundation MOU.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually talk about these two things, but they were together. But we'll work through them separately in terms of motion. So the initial MOU is to formalize the agreement between the foundation and the library. So we, aside from their founding documents and their bylaws, the foundations, we don't have an actual formal agreement between the foundation and the library. So the MOU sets that up. That's part one. That's B. C is this resolution for a transfer of property that includes an additional MOU. So the recommendations that we transfer the Western branch property to the foundation. And then the MOU sets up how they may dispose of or use that property. So it's really three pieces, all kind of around the same thing. If that's clear as mud.
It's clear. I'm needing a little bit more context. So did you try to repurpose or sell the western building before this?
We have not.
Okay, so this is your best, what you believe is the best thing to do with that building?
Correct. And then, there's just less, they just have more freedom to sell that property with less bureaucracy than we do. But ultimately it would benefit the library in the same kind of the same kind of way.
Is the foundation a function, excuse me, is the foundation a
And
committee?
Myra to jump in.
Okay.
It's its own separate 501c3 that was founded in order to benefit the library. So the funds that it raises really can only be used to support the library, according to their founding documents.
Is part of the reason we even have a foundation, so if somebody donates to that, it's tax deductible?
It's tax deductible for us too, but they receive donations to the library, but they're a pass-through organization for grants for us because there are many that require 501c3s. And so they function in that way for us.
So if, this is all new to me, if the foundation decided to sell that building or property to, let's say, an unsavory organization, we no longer have any veto power on who they sell it to. Is that
No,
correct?
the MOU covers that. Am I correct, Myra?
It does cover that. It will give us an opportunity to have a seat at the table to discuss. And it needs to be aligned with the library's goals and purposes.
Yes, Mr. Feldbaum.
So is it anticipated that the foundation will in all likelihood put the property up? Of course, we're still in the property. So once we transferred it to them, it's anticipated that they're going to list the property for sale fairly quickly, and the idea they're probably going to sell it.
I don't know what their timeline is, but I would
But
expect that.
but then the funds that come in, which they have the freedom, they don't have to go through all the procedures we have to go through
Right.
because of property. And where the expectation is that that'll then flow back into us. And council is feeling that nobody's gonna suggest that we're somehow violating the spirit of all but this is, this is considered to be an okay way to have a foundation transfer to them, and they sell it. And the monies flow back to us. It's okay.
It's okay. The money will flow to, like, we can't say for sure what they're going to do with the
Right.
property. However, what they do with the property is supposed to benefit the library, whether it's the library's operations, library program, or the upkeep of the building itself. So
Okay.
Any other questions?
This isn't a question, it's a request. Might at some future date, we hear from the foundation to learn more about who they are and what they do?
Absolutely.
Duly noted. Thank you, that will help.
I was wondering, they're separate 501c3, they have their own bylaws, and they're established to help us. I get that. But in their helping us, we're giving them a building, we're paying for their insurance, we're doing all these other things, and I was wondering if they were separate, why we were taking on those other responsibilities.
That's not really unprecedented for us. For example, when they had the bookstore over here in this building, we were still paying, we still own that building.
We own the building, they pay partial electric
But we kept
for
the
the building,
insurance
but
on
we
it.
kept the insurance because it was still our building.
Right, right, but this isn't gonna be our building, it's gonna be theirs, and we're still gonna pay legal fees and insurance policies on the staff and the board members.
Well, I would expect that to be only while it's occupied. I mean, we are occupying it
Right.
for the duration, so we would pay all of that while it's occupied, and I would expect it to be disposed of fairly shortly thereafter.
Other questions? Right, I'll entertain a motion to, so are we doing B first, right?
Correct. So that's the general overall MOU between the library and the foundation, which is something our director of development has wanted for a long time.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to accept the MOU between the library and the library foundation. Dr. Curtis moved.
I'll second.
Ms. Piper Randall seconds. So let us vote to accept the MOU. Dr. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum,
Aye.
Ms. Barker, Dr. Curtis, Ms. Piper Randall,
Aye.
Ms. Richards, and I vote aye. All right, next we have the resolution for the transfer of property. Ms. Dantzler.
So, don't worry.
Right, so that resolution for the transfer of property include can they vote, does it need to be two separate votes for the MOU as well?
Two separate.
Okay, sorry, add one more vote.
So we're doing C now?
C, we'll do C now, and then that second MOU.
This
that's
one
in-
right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're doing two, gift of the,
Yes.
number 1, B, and then number 3. A.
So simply the resolution for the transfer of property.
Got it,
Right now.
okay. Does anybody have any questions on the resolution for the transfer of property?
I'm sorry. In the one we just passed, if I'm reading these in the right order, it says that if they fail to promote the library, they will dissolve. And because that's part of the bylaws and stuff. What happens if they still own the building then? Do they still have the right to,
Sounds like a question for an attorney.
do they still have the right to keep the money for it, or does that have to come back, filter back to us?
It has to serve the library's purpose and goals. So can't say what exactly that means, but it has to finance the heart of the library, whether it's through operations or program and such. If they still have the building, we have it in the MOU that there's only one purpose, all the proceeds. If there's income, so far as like rental income, all of that will come back to either the operation of the library, maintaining that building itself, or some program that's sponsored by the library.
Just if it helps, the foundation is becoming stronger and stronger. Anjanette and Bridget are doing a really great job developing leaders for their board and really working to make them sort of a more effective foundation too.
And this is an MOU, it's not a contract. So we have not actually transferred the property. If there's a sales contract or purchase agreement, there will be other terms that are legally binding, but an MOU is really just a memorandum of understanding.
Any other questions?
When just, so I'm just clarifying, we're gonna have this resolution to transfer the property. And it sounds like the way this is worded is once we sign this, then once you prepare a deed, then president will sign it, I'll authenticate as secretary, and then it's transferred. Is there gonna be more than that?
Yes, there should be an actual agreement to transfer.
Oh, there's gonna be actual sales agreement,
Yeah.
or not a sales agreement because it's not a sale. There'll be an actual agreement relating to the gifting of the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the resolution for the transfer of property?
I will motion the resolution for transfer of property.
Thank you, Ms. Piper Rangel, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Parker seconds. let's take a vote on this resolution to approve. Ms. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Packard Ringel?
Aye.
Dr. Curtis?
Aye.
Ms. Barker?
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum?
Aye.
Dr. Garcia?
Aye.
I vote aye. So on the memo of the transfer of property, there is a third item, execute a memorandum of understanding designating the purpose for which the foundation will use the building, and we need a vote on that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the second and the
Yes. All right, so that's apart from what's on this agenda, but it's on this memo that we have. Does anybody have any questions about the memorandum of understanding designating the purpose for which the foundation will use the building? All right, could I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding?
So moved.
Dr. Curtis moved. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Ms. Barker seconds. It's been moved and seconded. So we now need to take a vote by roll call. Let's go this way. Mr. Feldbaum,
Aye.
Ms. Barker,
Aye.
Dr. Curtis, Ms. Packard Ringel,
Aye.
Ms. Richards,
Aye.
Dr. Garcia,
Aye.
and I vote aye. All righty. Next, we have the circulation policy revisions. Ms. Plummer.
So since we've been training on our new circulation policy, we discovered a couple of areas that need clarification. And we want to clarify that limited cards are for those only staying in the area short term. Expand resident card to qualifying schools to include Union North United School Corporation and John Glenn Corporation. Clarify the public libraries we have reciprocal agreements with rather than the townships. Include the practice of checkout by verbal account verification. And all of the changes are in red in the document there.
Thank you for highlighting those changes and
And that was really helpful. Having the highlights made it so much easier to say, oh, that's all we're doing. It's easy.
Yeah. These are great changes.
Do I have a motion to approve the circulation policy revisions?
So moved.
Mr. Feldbaum moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Richards second. Any questions? It's been moved and seconded. So we are going to take a vote. Ms. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Packard Ringel?
Aye.
Dr. Curtis? Ms. Barker?
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum?
Aye.
Dr. Garcia?
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you, Ms. Plummer. Next, youth card fee waiver, Ms. O'Brien.
So as part of implementing the new circulation policy, we found that there were duplicate cards in our system. And the policy requires that only one card be issued to a patron. So it's necessary for us to merge these accounts. So for youth under the age of 18, we recommend waiving all outstanding fees at the time of account consolidation. And currently, there are 143 accounts with outstanding fees related to unreturned materials, and that totals $7,402.11. We do feel strongly that waiving these fees will maintain uninterrupted service for these patrons. So we do recommend that.
Were the only cards, duplicate cards, were they only youth?
There were adults as well. Because we want to support early literacy, young people having access to books and reading, we are recommending youth.
So the fees will remain with the adult cards.
I see.
As they're merged.
I think that's a great idea, really gracious.
But just curious, so the $7,400 of outstanding fees from return materials, were there any that you could actually pinpoint where there were a few that were sort of egregious situations?
So the, what we found was that at a certain point, we were issuing like secondary cards to patrons who had, bill of materials on their account, which prevented them from checking out. So when we issued those secondary cards, we made that decision that we would allow them to continue checking out. But then that would have left us in this situation.
Lisa, I think he's asking if there was any one or two individuals that just had an
I mean,
enormous.
yeah, I mean,
It's pretty well
my
spread
question
out.
is, if you noticed a few people that, let's say, they had $500 or $600 of unreturned things, and so if you go ahead and wipe that out clean, are you putting in any kind of a safeguard? You're kind of keeping an eye out for those so that they don't, like either giving them more of a limit, put more guardrails around what
Lisa,
they're,
the limited cards have more of a guardrail than these duplicate cards did.
okay.
It prevents the checking out of materials at a lower dollar amount than these did.
Okay,
Is that correct, Lisa? Because they'll be moved to a resident card.
They
So
will be.
one billed item will
yes,
prevent them from checking out more,
yes.
which was not the case with the access card.
got it. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the youth card fee waiver? Ms. Richards has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Patrick Ringel has seconded. A motion to approve the youth card waiver has been moved and seconded. Mr. Feldbaum,
Aye.
Ms. Barker,
Aye.
Dr. Curtis,
Aye.
Ms. Patrick Ringel,
Aye.
Ms. Richards, Dr. Garcia,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Next, the program policy, Ms. Plummer.
Everybody take a look at the programming policies, and this year we recommend that the board approve the proposed updates. And they clarify authority, ensure consistent terminology, and align policy with current practice. And one of the things we did was, currently it says library director, we changed that to say executive director. And updated department language to reflect the current organizational structure. And reaffirm the library's discretion to curate, limit, cancel, or remove exhibits and programs. And for this, the red line version is a few pages down. On mine, it says page 90.
Right.
Sorry.
All right, do we have any questions on this policy? Do I have a motion to approve the program policy?
Don't move.
Mr. Feldbaum moves, Dr. Curtis seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the program policy. Ms. Richards,
Aye.
Ms. Patrick Rangel,
Aye.
Dr. Curtis,
Aye.
Ms. Barker,
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum,
Aye.
and Dr. Garcia.
Aye.
I vote aye. Next, the Ebon Marsh contract, is that how you say it?
So we have these gentlemen here from Avon Marsh, is that right?
Ebon Marsh.
And they will talk about the report and what their findings were. So I explained last month that we had a leak in the sanitary lines in the basement, and our facilities senior manager, Joe Geffrick, indicated that many of the pipes were old and suggested and recommended. And this has been on our capital projects plan for this year anyway. So we invited these folks to come in and have a look around, and it was a little more extensive than we expected. So they're here to talk about their findings, and then so I'm just going to turn it over to them.
Great. Good afternoon. My name is Haj Patel. I'm with Avon Marsh. I'm their Business and Government Strategy Director. I'm going to introduce my colleagues here in a second. Avon Marsh, if you're wondering what that stands for, a fair deal. It's actually a French word. When we were founded back in 1979 and had phone books. They're like, we need to be A, B. So that's how that came about, just to share that with you. Our office is 2.5 blocks away from here, and a couple of us live probably within 4 or 5 blocks of this library. So we're very familiar with it. We have about 240 professionals in our company. We have 11 offices, 6 in Indiana, in the northern part of the state, and then 5 over in Michigan as well. And we do engineering, architecture, MEP, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing, planning, survey. And just to give you an idea of some of the projects in the community that we've been involved with, and then we're going to touch on libraries as well. So South Bend International Airport, we do a ton of stuff over at South Bend International Airport. You'll see a lot of transformation there. Howard Park, just across the river, we've been involved with that. Some of the communities that you serve, I know you have a library that's getting some significant renovations on Western Avenue, near Olive, that whole corridor, where all the businesses have popped up. We were involved in that with the city of South Bend. The Link Trail that connects Notre Dame to downtown South Bend into the library, we're involved with that. And then just across a couple blocks from here is St. Joe County, what is called the County City Building, where now the county is only there. We are involved in their space allocation study. So just a flavor of some of the projects. In terms of libraries, we're actively working with libraries in Edwardsburg and then in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And then on the Indiana side, we're involved in Rensselaer, and that's in Northwest Indiana, DeMott and Wheatfield as well. And we've been involved in a dozen plus other library projects. So getting involved with this particular library and this project is not something that is not new to us. So Steve is going to be our project manager. He's based out of our South Bend office. And then Glenn is going to lead this effort directly. So Glenn, I don't know if you want to touch on the project a little bit.
Yeah, so like you said, we came down, reviewed your building, and we went through the drawings and we walked the building with you guys and evaluated 4 different systems. So we looked at the fire protection, the domestic water, the storm, and the sanitary. All 4 of those systems have had leaks in the recent past. And looking at those systems based on their age and the condition of them and what we could see, there's definitely repairs needed. Some of the systems are as much as 50 years old plus, especially the sanitary systems. And as you know, as pipes age, they deteriorate and they start causing issues. So what we're going to do, and we presented a proposal to you that you've hopefully reviewed, that we're going to approach these 4 systems and we're going to create drawings to replace these systems and evaluate them further if needed. But we'll create drawings, bring in bidders and contractors, and we'll work with you to create a phasing plan to reduce the number of shutdowns needed as we replace these systems. And we hope to do it in a costly or cost-effective and expedient manner to not impact the building any more than needed. Any questions?
This is the guide. If you read the report and have questions about the report, Glenn knows.
Yep, I'm the signature on it. I'm the licensed engineer for it, so. Yes, sir.
So in reading through it quickly, I didn't study every word, but all right. So in some situations, you actually made findings and decisions. Other situations, you're suggesting we bring in there's certain systems we need to bring in other people to actually do more significant inspections or putting cameras through things and hire different.
So when we presented to the director and head of maintenance, we offered a plethora of different options. So an example is fire protection is designed and installed by fire protection contractors in Indiana. We can call for the original drawings to get it replaced, but they will do the approved drawings for the state. So they will hold their own drawings for that. So we'll do bidding drawings for that, but we'll design it. So that's where we have to bring in a fire protection contractor. For the sanitary side and the storm side, we said, okay, we know there's issues, there's been leaks, we know the pipe is deteriorating. The best thing would be come in and get it cambered, but the decision was made, it's already leaking. We know it's bad. Why pay to camera it when we already know it needs to be replaced? So there are sections where we're probably still gonna have it inspected, like the main connections between the street and the building, and we'll make a decision then that we may have that coated with an epoxy, just so we don't have to tear up the street. And we may do that with a couple other locations if it's really hard to get to those pipes. But then like the domestic water is just of an age and you can't really inspect that except for from the exterior. So that just needs to be replaced as we can access it.
So is it the idea that you all would be sort of, in some situations, you're sort of the general contractor and you're gonna find these other people that have this expertise, or are you thinking you'll work side by side, but we'll engage them ultimately, or what do you?
We'll create drawings to replace all the systems in the building. And then there's certain areas that we'll call for them to camera first before they replace.
And they'll
often-
do it, but now in certain situations, your team will actually do the replacing of the pipes.
No, we are just designers.
So you're 100% design.
Yes.
So assuming that we go, so
We'll have another meeting once we create the bid documents with the board to approve those documents to go to bid.
okay, so would you come up with an anticipated budget of what, before we put it out to bid? So do we have or do you have a sense already?
There is an anticipated budget that was attached with the report.
I didn't include it in here because, no, it's okay. It's a worst case scenario budget of needing to replace everything,
Okay, so if we had to replace everything. the
but
worst case,
minimum 2 million.
Okay,
The hope is that as they get deeper into the drawings, maybe more of it's been replaced during the renovation than expected. We know the sanitary lines were not at all, but some of our restrooms are newer, things of that sort. All of this is on obviously the original side of the building. So because this project must be bid out, we can't create those documents in-house by ourselves, nor can we design the way in which to do that. That's what we need them to do for us. And then we'll work closely with them to phase it so that there's the least amount of impact to the public as possible. They've explained things like putting the new water lines in next to the old ones. So we only need to be shut down for that connection part of it. But that's part of all the scope of work that's included here is figuring out how do we do it with the least impact to our.
Yeah, good example is bathrooms. We can isolate and shut down individual bathrooms while we're replacing piping to it. The only one that's gonna be facility-wide shutdown is the fire protection changeover because you can't have an occupied building that's sprinkled, that is no longer sprinkled for a couple hours. But other ones, the whole point will be, we'll create the documents, we'll create a plan of phasing, and then we'll review those documents again with you to make sure that you're buying into our plan before it goes to contractors. And then once it's approved to contractors, then it would go into being replaced.
Those couple hour phases for the fire and stuff that you just mentioned, could those be done during our off hours when we're already closed? So that
They could be, it's always more expensive to do it on the weekends or,
So our goal was to offer them as alternates. So we usually offer them as a deductive alternate. Say, okay, provide the price to shut down after hours and do the changeover, give us that price. And if we can get it done with that and still stay within budget, then you accept that alternate, otherwise you reject it, and then the building will shut down during regular business hours. Sir.
so just trying to understand what we're actually being asked. So glad we've got this report. This doesn't appear like this is actually a contract that we're gonna be approving today. You're letting us know the report.
proposal.
Is
for
the
service.
anticipation then that you'll come back next month with an actual agreement with them where they're gonna come up with pricing and how much we're gonna pay them, like we did with the.
This proposal for services is our agreement with them to do all the design work. Once the design work is done, or if we decide to phase it, say we decide we're gonna do sanitary first, which is the most urgent thing. So maybe we'll just design the sanitary portion of it first, bid that out. Then we'll come back with those bid documents, need approval by the board before we can take those bid documents out.
Yeah, but is there I don't see anything in here where it comes to what we're paying, how much we're paying.
Yeah, it's in here.
Did I miss it? I was trying to find where
It's not in the facilities report, it's in the proposal part of it.
Yeah. It's in here, isn't it, the proposal?
I didn't see anything talked about.
Page 5 of 6 of the proposal.
Yeah,
It's a separate document than the assessment.
I don't think we've got that. I do it.
it doesn't look like it. Did we miss that? Thank you. I apologize, 138,985. Um. 23 for the sanitary system, 30 for stormwater, 23 for domestic water, fire protection, 36, construction administration, 28.
How did you get another copy of it?
I apologize. I thought I had all of my documents in here. You're fired. Sure.
With the new law that is probably gonna pass and having to have our budget line approved, is that gonna affect projects like this? And if so, do you know how yet?
So my larger concern is SCA one, which passed last year, right? Because to me, this is what we keep a rainy day fund for. And replacement, particularly of those sanitary lines, not optional.
Right.
And Anjanette and I are getting closer to having a long-term financial plan, which I think you and Alan are on the committee for. But sort of what she and I have talked about is how much can we front load some of this maintenance stuff and get it taken care of out of our rainy day fund before we have cash flow issues as a result of SCA one. So that's what we're wanting to do. Did we know the pipes needed to be done? Yes. Did we know it was gonna be potentially $2 million? No. So we're still figuring through that. As we work with Avonmarsh through this process too, it is possible that we could say, all right, domestic water, let's do that next year instead of this year. But this allows us to sort of go through all of that design process and phasing process with them, while at the same time we're working out the financials before we commit to those bigger expenses. But yes, but a good point, the new language in SB 4 does not prevent the reduction of library budgets by county councils. There's always been a safeguard where county councils couldn't reduce library budgets more than 10%. That will no longer be the case, but I don't really think our county council is going to reduce the library's budget. That wouldn't be my expectation. They currently approve, say, the airport budget as well as just sort of a matter of course. And I would expect and hope that that would be their same process towards our budget.
But it's not something that they're gonna have line item hanging on for major projects like this that aren't a choice.
So a couple of things, if we had to do an additional appropriation in order to get this done, which I'm not sure that we would need to do that for this. I think we have enough budgeted this year. But if we had the need to have an additional appropriation, that does need approval by the county council. If we need a budget for 2027 and we take it to the county council, they could in fact, if SB 4 passes, they could in fact say, no, you can't have this in your budget. I don't think, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. The responsibility for public buildings really is something that all public servants and elected officials should care about. The buildings belong to the people. So could they? Yes. Do I think they would? No.
I was just thinking, their building got closed down because of broken pipes and they.
Right.
So I just.
And I'm trying to
They're taking
prevent
care of
that,
their
right?
own. So it just made good ones.
But I do believe that we have, I mean, this is why we keep a library improvement reserve fund and rainy day funds.
Right.
But I do, and Joe Gepfrick, our facility senior manager, he and I are on the same page on preventative maintenance. We just think it's so important to address issues. They're always more expensive when they're an emergency.
Right.
So, sanitary system, I feel like we're a little further behind than we probably should be. the rest of it, the rest of the stuff in terms of preventative maintenance, I think we're in good shape.
I have a harder question to ask. How hard would it be for this document to be forwarded to us? Because I'm feeling a little weird about approving the budget for that.
I said,
Well, let me tell you what it actually is.
Okay.
All right, so what they've got is there's a
and
professional,
Myra has seen it as well,
yeah,
so.
there's a professional service agreement, which is a one-page document with their terms. They're actually, this is a fixed fee of $138,985 for them to design needed repairs and upgrades to our different water systems, sanitary, domestic water, fire protection, and stormwater systems. And what they're proposing for, what they've done is they've broken it down into 5 tasks. The round number that's 22 to 20 to $35,000, some tasks or less, some are more. And they're planning on doing it, they're planning on starting in March and doing it phased over four months. They're gonna start doing it sanitary, then storm, and domestic water, and then fire. And then their anticipation is in August, they're gonna go out and put it out for bid and then come back. So your complete oversight is gonna be $138,000 to do all of it, which is similar to what we did from, Stephanie, when we did the folks, that helped us with the renovation of Main Branch and everything. We bought the group in, and they had to do the planning first, right?
Mhm.
So, and it sounds like you all have got confidence, obviously, in everything that they've done, and you're recommending that we approve this.
Correct, and I can throw those.
And I think Glenn wants to add 2 points here too, just.
And why it's broken down into tasks, no matter what happens at the end of the 4 tasks, you're gonna have biddable drawings to take out and get all those pipes replaced within the building. The issue is gonna be is you guys can pick and choose to do them at different times, at different things, as you are available with money and also available with the facility, and then also as you need to do those things. Like she said, the sanitary has to be done. There's been issues with the sanitary deteriorating because it's rotting away from chemical usage and just age of itself. When you use harsh chemicals on pipes, they deteriorate faster. If you go in a couple of bathrooms, you see some of the chrome has started to turn green. That's also from chemical usage. It reacts with the chrome and creates that, and it also affects your piping. So that's one of those things that we in the facility matter have already talked about that. So he's gonna start changing the way he cleans and maintains the pipes to help extend their life as well. So there's already been a benefit to us
Guys.
with us.
I
at the
just sent
study.
it to you.
So
Okay, thank
it
you.
will help.
I have no problem with it at all.
Time. Lots of side conversations.
Okay.
Ms. Packard Randall.
Okay, I have no problem with the project, but as a fiduciary agent of the government, I'm glad that we were able to see it in writing while we're voting on it. But I'm totally
Yeah,
in
so if we
favor
could
of
give
the
them,
activities.
you know what, if we want. Let's give them a minute to pull open that document and look through it if they'd like. That's okay with you, Madam President.
Yes, and while they're doing that, I can anticipate a question from the public. We just had a big renovation of the main library. Why did this not get done before? As part of that renovation?
We weren't involved in that initial, in that initial renovation.
Do you have an answer for that?
I don't know either.
None of us were.
Okay. All right, so that'll be my answer. Nobody was there.
Well, I can give a pretty decent answer. I've been doing this for not quite 20 years. And mechanical, HVAC and plumbing systems of buildings are ignored until they're wrong. And that's just a fact of life. And sanitary piping is mostly underground. Some of yours is in your ceiling, so until it became a problem, nobody cares about it. It's as simple as that.
Okay, the other thing is, I have never seen so many plumbing pictures in my whole life. Who's responsible for this?
So.
So like, I felt like I was looking at a colonoscopy.
It's very close to what we actually did for the building. We went through all the basement and wherever we could access piping and plumbing, we looked at it and helped make that evaluation.
I mean, it was quite a remarkable moment of my day when I looked at these pictures.
And when you saw the pinhole leak.
Yes.
Were existing and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and if you'll recall, we did replace a piece of that sanitary line that was, already leaking, so.
So Glenn, the sanitary you're thinking is the one that's most in need, but it's actually in the proposal, that's the least costly of the other areas.
So design is easy for sanitary. You're gonna replace it with the exactly same thing in almost the exact same location
Right.
with just probably a different pipe. We'll probably go to PVC.
So the other ones being more expensive here is because
The design will change.
in,
So sanitary, it has to slope, it has to go to a certain location. You can change the routing a little bit, but it's gotta connect to the same fixtures at the beginning and end. So design wise, it's not complicated. But it is the most critical.
okay. So I assume that though, when they do it, the logical thing would be, if other things need replacing, is to try to phase it so that everything is done at the same time.
That was why they
When the
decided,
feelings are open and everything's done, that we actually get everybody in there at the same time.
yes, that's why they decided to do this all as one proposal, because if we can do it as one project, they can do everything at one time and only open the ceilings at a time. And hope to save money from the budget.
What's the timeline? Actually, I forget.
So if you look at the proposal, out to bids in August, 6 weeks to bid, and then probably about a year construction.
Yeah, the timeline of construction is gonna depend on how we phase it, how much of a chunk we can do at one time.
Is there gonna be a difference in the cost of the bid and the actual doing it if it's not done at the same? Or if it's done separately, is that gonna affect those costs?
Yes, so worst case budget, you have to open the same ceiling multiple times to replace pipes that are within a couple feet of each other, so that will increase the cost. But that's why the phasing and the way things are done and the pricing will all be decided, and will allow it, so hey, you know, the domestic water is in the best shape. That ended up being a quarter of the budget, you guys don't wanna pay for that right now, we'll leave domestic for later. And that might have to be done in 20 years. Whereas, you know, sanitary and the fire protection are currently leaking, those are your concerns.
I think we talked about, for example, if you have a restroom that's gonna be renovated, these design plans would be utilized to do that.
Well, actually, the opposite was the case. I didn't want to do, the staff restrooms were not renovated. They're probably from the early 80s, and didn't really want to do them, but if we're pulling all the pipes out anyway, then it only makes sense to go ahead and do those while we have the plumbing part anyway. So that's some of the side things that might happen along the way.
But we could also meet with the facility and say, okay, we're gonna stop the pipe at just the wall to those bathrooms because it's gonna get replaced in 2 years. Those bathrooms can be shut down. So we just do the new piping to those bathrooms, then do the rest from there later. So that's also a way we can save money.
You can see how much fun we have on our slated for 2026 here.
Are we ready at this point, now that we've seen the contract?
And again, I apologize.
Are we motion to approve the contract? Since I
You know,
started
if everybody is done talking, that would be great.
I propose that we approve the contract for
You do
Robin
not,
Marsh,
could you do a not to exceed?
not to exceed $138,985.
Whatever the contract.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve yeah, I did take French at abonnement contract. Miss Richards. Ms. Piper Rangel.
Aye.
Dr. Curtis.
Aye.
Ms. Barker.
Aye.
Mr. Feldbaum.
Aye.
Dr. Garcia.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other business? Strategic plan update, literacy, nonfiction, browsability.
We have Dave Height, who's our senior manager of collection services.
Good afternoon. So if I tie in or,
Good question. Could you send it real quick to Azaria while
Yep.
you introduce yourself? So just a little fun fact, with Bob's retirement, Dave is our longest standing employee here at the library.
Thank you. So, yes, my name is David Height.
Regular employee.
Senior
yeah.
Collection Services Manager. Come August will be 38 years that I started as a shelver. Way
When
back
he
in high
was
school.
a tot. I was gonna say a tot.
A youngster.
Yes. So, I've been in this position since, 2017, in collection development. And then just a couple years ago, we merged collection services and tech services. So what we're going to talk about is our nonfiction browsability, which was part of the strategic plan for literacy, which was enhancing nonfiction browsability. The goal was to make the adult nonfiction collection easier for patrons to browse and to simplify the Dewey Decimal System a little bit more, to try and make things easier to find on the shelf. So what we did was we reached out to other libraries who were members of the Urban Library Council, and we received feedback from Anythink Library in Colorado, Frisco Public Library in Texas, Markham Public Library in Canada, Wichita Public Library in Kansas, Skokie in Illinois, and Indianapolis. So looking at all the different options, Anythink and Markham did their own going Dewey list. They created their own systems of classification, which was a huge undertaking, which we didn't think was going to be beneficial for our system. We took a look, we had a committee go and visit Skokie Public Library. So what they did along with Wichita was created neighborhoods of different subject headings. They placed stickers on the books to designate what area, but they did keep their standard Dewey numbers. And Skokie did about 65% of the collection into the neighborhoods, with the rest they kept under nonfiction. So in the neighborhoods, what they did, you may have multiple Dewey numbers. So one example would be in their money and business collection. You have some economics books in the 300s. You have books about businesses in the 600s. So they tried to pull everything together in that regard. The reason they did it was to fit their collections on the shelving in their renovated space. So that way they weren't breaking numbers up. It was just a convenience for them. And they noted that it made no impact on their circulation. Wichita Public Library had done something similar. They were actually in the process of going back to regular Dewey order. So those didn't seem like they would be feasible for us. So those were kind of the considerations we had. Looking at Indianapolis Public Library, they used a modified Dewey Decimal System, which is more in line with what we were thinking of doing. They continue to use the standard numerical designations, but there's a sub piece called a cutter, which they replaced with the author's last name. And if there was a double cutter, it would be with the subject name. So something that we have as an example for Magnolia Table. This top one is how we have it in our catalog. There's our Dewey number, and then that's the cutter, the G based on Joanna Gaines' last name. What Indianapolis has done is they use the same numbers, but replace that cutter with the first 3 letters of the author's last name. And what we're looking to do is take the author's last name out further, up to the 8 characters, which will be allowed on our call stickers. And that's something that we would do going forward.
I have a question. So I worked here for a hot minute as a volunteer shelver. And these numbers are maddening for shelving.
Yes.
My question though is, when I see the one that you have there, the M, what that, if there was another title. Oh, I see. If there was another title by that author, it wouldn't have that same number.
Correct.
Got it.
So it would go to like MA or some other designation.
So that on our spine labels currently, it's the 641.5975 on one line and the G127M.
Would be right underneath it.
Which catalogers know what that means, and that's about it. And the shelvers know where to put it. So with this new one, it would be the 6415975 on the one line. And Gaines, we would put the full last name because her last name would fit. Author last name on the second line, which makes it easier for patrons. I know I'm looking for Joanna Gaines' book. I got the 641. I know where to find that on the shelf and then narrow it down. Easy to find your book.
It would
And
be
it's
similar.
unlikely that it would have, that a book by her would have that same number with a different title.
You have the same thing in
It would
fiction.
just be like fiction, where
That
you
you
have
just
the
put it in,
author's
yep.
books
Yep.
together.
I care about shelving a lot.
So do we.
Yes, so in this situation, so if we go to what could be what you're proposing or what this other alternative is. If Joanna does a book, this is a collection of recipes for gatherings for 2018. So she does a collection of additional recipes for gatherings. So there's another one she comes out in 2026. How would that be? So it's going to be the same area, sort of, it would still be a 641.5975, I assume.
Under
But then it'll be
Gaines.
Gaines, would it be Gaines 2 or Gaines? How would you differentiate between the two different books in the same area?
You wouldn't for
At this
fiction.
point, we wouldn't.
You wouldn't, it would just be.
It would just be right next to each other,
Even though they're different books,
even though they would be different.
if they would be there and they would just, okay. Because right now, today, if you did it under the Dewey today, it would have a slightly different number.
Slightly different, but it should still be right there.
There'd be an additional, so we won't have that. You all will just lump them all together.
Yes,
Which is what happens with the current system too. They get lumped together.
so.
Speaking precisely, they get lumped together.
Close enough.
Yeah, so that would be part one of what we would like to go forward in doing. The other piece was windowing. Now, this came about during the presentation, Doing More with Less, the Retail Perspective, presented by David Benjamin, Associate Professor at NYU. This was a presentation hosted here at the auditorium for libraries in the area. And what it comes down to is displaying books, 3 on a shelf at eye level, and then all the others would be underneath. This is something we actually have begun at the branches, and it's really taken off. Branch staff have reported they're constantly replacing the books on the shelves, more so than they have with any of their other different displays. And that's something we're beginning at Maine. And here's kind of an example of how that looks on the shelf. So this would be the display in our new nonfiction on the 3rd floor. So we have some excess copies on that shelf, but the others we're displaying in 3s. And this is actually in the collection itself. So you can see right on the top shelf at eye level, there'll be 3 books, and then the others would just be underneath. So not only does it display books, it also lets people know, hey, these are the books in this area. So as they're walking through, they can visually see what's there.
And the David Benjamari workshop was actually, I couldn't stay for the whole thing, but it was really interesting. He's done a lot of studies on this. And he said, it's these space out books that go. The rest of your books really are just storage. All that you have spine out is really just storage. So in doing it this way, you just get more and more books space out. And anecdotally, so far at the branches, they're replacing those space out books all the time because people are taking them. One of my favorite examples from him is he had a manager that he had worked with where her staff were really skeptical. So she did a display of dictionaries and thesauruses using his methodology, and they circulated.
That's funny.
So, sorry, Dave.
No, that's fine. So with the windowing, that's something we're beginning, with changing of the call numbers, something we would do going forward with the new materials. And then once we get into the swing of that, we're gonna look at how far back we may want to be able to go. So,
Thank you, Dave.
any other questions?
Very nice, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do we have anyone signed in for hearing of visitors?
Sure.
No hearing of visitors. All right, next library board meeting dates. The next library board meeting is March 24th, 4:15, right here in this room. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Mr. Feldbaum?
Aye.
Ms. Barker?
Aye.
Dr. Curtis? Ms. Pocket Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Richards? Dr. Garcia?
Hi.
And I vote aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.